Aran knitting. Is it a pastime or a necessity? My earliest memories are of my mother knitting Aran sweaters, winding wool from hanks and gazing proudly at her finished garment. Everywhere I go, I buy yarn, and I get great excitement when I come across a nice yarn. Immediately a plan comes into my head as to what I will knit from it. I started knitting at my mother's feet, and Aran knitting is my speciality. The Aran knitting got its name from the set of islands off the Irish west coast in the Atlantic Sea, where men and women farmed the land and fished the sea for survival. Aran knitting was created in this background and has ever since been passed down from generation to generation. It is indeed one of Ireland's finest heritage symbols. Before the 1950s, many men fished off the islands. Out of necessity, the women handmade the men's Aran sweaters. Fishermen's clothes needed to be hard-wearing. They needed to be easy to mend and easy to wear in tough, rough conditions. They needed to provide warmth to keep out the water as much as possible. The material for the Aran sweater was readily available as the islanders farmed sheep whose wool was sheared in the summer. The women looked after the fleece, cleaning, carding and spinning it into yarn, and originally unscoured wool was used to knit the Aran garments. The wool retained its natural oils, the lanolin, which made the garments water resistant and meant that they remained wearable even when they were wet. In the 20th century, wool from the Galway sheep was fine and white, long and lustrous, with great strength and bulk. It was free of kemp and it was second to none in quality. This is no accident of nature, but lies in the fine limestone land that suits the rearing and breeding of such sheep. The very first Aran sweaters were plain, and with time and experience, knitters began to add a variety of stitch patterns. First, to make the fabric of the sweater thicker, and then to make them more artistic and beautiful. Hand-knit Arans were and remain a reflection of the lives of the knitters and of their families. On the Aran Islands, the patterns were guarded and kept within the same clan for generations. An official register of these historic patterns have been compiled and can be seen in the Aran Sweater Market on the Aran Islands. It is said that in the beginning, every family had their own style and pattern. Very often, when a fisherman was lost at sea for some time, he could be identified by his Aran knitwear when his body was washed ashore. So from its origins, the Aran jumper has been intimately linked to clans and their identities. I love the Aran stitches, and my mother often told me the significance of each one. I didn't listen hard enough at the time. She believed that Aran knitting had a language of its own, a unique meaning and a historic legacy from the life of the island community many years ago. This was only really understood by those who worked the stitches. The many combinations of stitches seen on a garment are not incidental, far from it. They can impart vast amounts of information to those who know how to interpret them. A finished, medium-sized Aran jumper contains approximately 100,000 carefully constructed stitches and can take up to 2 months to complete. I once kept a record of the length of time it took me to knit a man's medium-sized Aran sweater, and it totaled 52 hours from cast on to final finish. So you can be sure that when somebody knits you an Aran garment, you have been in their thoughts for many hours. The Aran sweater began to grow in popularity and it was exported all over the world. Machine knit replicas of the Aran hand knit are available at reasonable prices. It is almost impossible for the non-knitter to distinguish between a hand knit and a machine knit. 8 to 10 medium-sized Aran type sweaters can be made in a day by machine. I'll just explain a few of the Aran stitches that I like and that I use. The honeycomb stitch implies work and intelligence. The stitches are perfectly shaped and organised to resemble a life of peace. It is a reminder of the bee who works hard and assures a reward for their labour. The feather stitch represents a connection to spiritual realms and to divinity. Feathers also represent flight and freedom, not just physically, but also in a mental or spiritual sense. The cable stitch is found in almost every Aran garment in some form or another, and it represents a thick rope used for building, mooring and towing the fishermen's boats. Ropes were used to tie things together and represents unbreakable bonds, promising good luck and a fruitful and safe day at the sea. The diamond stitch reflects the small fields on the islands. They were often filled with the moss stitch, depicting the seaweed that was used to fertilise the barren fields and produce a good harvest. Diamonds represent light, life and sun, and of course success and wealth. They are the emblem of purity and perfection and stand for commitment and faithfulness. The Irish moss stitch, often used as the diamond filler, represents a good harvest. It stands for patience and humbleness as it thrives out of the limelight. The Tree of Life stitch represents the importance of clan and family, ancestry, connection and fertility, strength and growth. It is said to promise a long life and strong children. This stitch symbolises togetherness and unity, and it serves as a reminder that we are all never alone or isolated. It also suggests personal development. Just as the branches of the tree grow upward to the sky, we too grow stronger, striving for greater knowledge, wisdom, and new experiences and peace. The Tree of Life is one of the original stitches and is unique to the earliest examples of the Aran knitwear. The trellis represented the shapes of mesh fishing nets and stands for strength, success and wealth and good luck. The spoon stitch stands for pride, class, lifestyle, good luck and many more things. Then the zigzag stitch or the half diamond signifies the twisty cliff paths on the island, symbolising love and lightning, and emphasises connection with Father Sky. The basket stitch denotes the basket the fishermen used, their hopes of filling it with their catches to bring happiness and joy to their lives when full. The basket stitch also represents a person's ability to overcome any tough challenges as they work towards a better life. The blackberry stitch is my favourite. It is a symbol of the rich abundance of nature, and it looks like the blackberries that were so abundant on the briars growing on the islands. This stitch also has religious implications. The three persons, Father, Son and Holy Spirit, and it's also known as the Trinity stitch. In 2020, generations after its creation, the genuine hand-knit Aran sweater has become a designer garment. Many people are lucky to own just one of these iconic fashion pieces in a lifetime. Today, the demand for the genuine hand Aran knit sweater continues to grow. There is a lack of skilled knitters, and this results in a huge fall in the number of hand knits that are available. Hand knit garments have become rare and valuable. They are highly sought after for their quality, their history and their clan heritage that they represent. The hand knit Aran sweater remains an item of timeless beauty, synonymous with pride in an Irish heritage. As the craft of Aran knitting declines, my hope is that in some way I might be able to pass on this fine art, that is a true emblem of Irish heritage and clan identity to others.